It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it's great to have you in studio today. We're talking with the Coconino National Forest. A couple of new guests today. Interagency Aviation Officer Justin Jager, and we have Assistant Fire Management Officer Drew Brown. Welcome to studio for the first time.
Thanks.
We're going to break them in nice and easy today. I've told you before the show, we've had the Kaibab National Forest in, Prescott National Forest, and we're kind of getting an update on how things are going with the forest and how things went over the winter, and reminding everybody that wildfire season is upon us. We've had several fires, correct?
Correct.
On the Coconino already, and Flagstaff area and stuff like that, so it's already happening. Drew, can you tell us kind of what took place over the winter months to burning-wise?
Yeah, so over the winter months, we did take advantage of some fairly substantial snowfalls to treat a lot of the pile units that we did have out there. So quite a bit of piles got burned this winter. We have been doing some thinning operations both around the Flagstaff area and then also in some outlying areas as well. So
is that kind of part of the for-fry stuff?
Some of it has been for-fry.
Okay.
Some of it has been associated with other projects. Really just taking advantage of where we can go and work, especially when the snow is fairly deep on the ground.
But you had a bunch of time to be able to do that this winter because, I mean, it was a very wet winter. So
yeah,
you guys probably got quite a bit of work done. Would you say you got more work done over this winter? Or less, or are you about average for the winter months?
I would say it was about the same.
Okay.
You know, we have to shift our priorities or our focus to other areas just due to the fact we can't get in to some of the areas, those higher elevation areas, so we go to more of the lower country and treat some of those areas when we do get those opportunities.
What are the priorities right now in the Coconino?
You know, across the Coconino, there's quite a few priorities, but For-Fry, the For Forest Restoration Initiative, is first and foremost. We also have FWPP, the Flagstaff Watershed Protection Project around the Flagstaff area, ensuring the long-term sustainability of the city's water supply.
Sure.
You know, also...
Was that more of the Schultz area? Would I be right to say
yeah,
that?
a lot of the Schultz area.
The peaks and stuff?
Around Peaks, Mormon Mountain. I mean, really kind of big picture, really treating those higher elevation slopes where the city does get the majority of our water supply from.
Huge chunk of land.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And working with a lot of cooperators, the city, the state, really everybody is all in on this one.
Okay.
So.
All right, very good. And then what do we got? You guys actually are burning this week. I saw there's at least 2 burns going on, right?
Correct. We burned yesterday on the Flagstaff district, 600 acres just south of town. A maintenance burn. It came off with great success. Everybody did a great job for the first burn of the year, and that was a cooperative effort, pulling in both, you know, city resources, Forest Service, and you know, we had folks from Highlands as well out there. It was a great operation.
All 600 done?
Yep.
All 600 one day.
done.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
One day, and you know, the rest of the week we're still kind of waiting to see how this weather plays out with the increased winds, but we're looking to get back into it next week as well.
Now, Stillman Lake was another area too. There was like 400 acres out there. Did you guys manage to get that one going too yesterday, or no?
I don't believe they got that one completed, but I could be wrong. I was kind of focused on the other one yesterday.
So. You know, 600, one 600-acre burn is probably good for one guy to be taken care of. Okay, and then Justin Jager, you're an interagency aviation officer.
Yes.
Let's start with what does that mean? What is it that you do?
It's a great question.
Okay,
so, what did you say you do? So I cover Grand Canyon National Park, Coconino National Forest, and the Kaibab National Forest, and I oversee and manage all the aviation program for those 3 entities, basically. So we have a fixed wing up in the park. We have a heli-attack crew that's year-round. The Kaibab has a heli-attack crew, and then the Coconino, we bring in an air attack every year too. So
you take care of all those?
I manage, oversee all those and kind of help coordinate.
Exactly. What does that mean, though? What do you do there? What is it that you do?
Yeah, a lot of outreach with a lot of our cooperators. So it's a very small airspace, and unfortunately up here, this airspace has a history of fatalities and a lot of accidents up here. So I try and coordinate a lot with our cooperators, that being the helicopter medical ships, Classics and Guardians, DPS, the air tour industry up in the park, the balloon operators in Sedona. Just make sure everyone's talking, and we have weird things going on, whether it's a fire or a special aviation mission, that's getting out to everyone. Everyone knows there's something else up there happening. And especially with the fire season coming up, it's important we start putting up temporary flight restrictions over our fires, that we're coordinating and talking with all these people to let them know what we're doing, and that we're going to have a lot of aircraft flying in the air.
That's got to be a pretty big crowd of people.
It is.
I mean, yeah, right. It's got to be a pretty big. If you think about it, you mentioned even air balloons, hot air balloons. So I mean, you see those. I see those every day. So yeah, that's a huge group of people. So if there's a wildfire breaks out, then you've got to get on and communicate with all these folks and say, okay, this particular area is closed. But then I guess how does that work?
Yeah, so that's a great question.
It's a big area.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think, how does that work?
If we get a fire that we're going to be bringing in aviation assets, we'll set up what we call a TFR, a temporary flight restriction. So it's important to realize that we don't own the airspace. The land management agencies don't own the airspace over the forest or the park. The FAA does. So we work with the FAA. We set up a temporary flight restriction, and that basically closes down that airspace. So all these operators, all these other aviation assets should be looking every morning when they're flight planning to see if there is a TFR up. But sometimes, the fire is going to start midday. TFR is not going to go into effect until the next day. So it's important to get that message out there that we have a fire going, and stay away, basically. Because we're going to be bringing in air tankers and helicopters and all these other things to help assist with that fire and the boots on the ground. So
now, you said that this area is pretty high for fatalities. Why is that?
Especially up and around Grand Canyon National Park, and just because it's a major attraction, people want to come up and fly over it. And in the past, there wasn't as much communication, and so things just don't go right all the time up there. So
all right, just accidents.
Yeah.
Accidents happen. Okay.
There's so much aviation traffic, So.
Well, since we're into aviation, that is why you guys came down today, because. True, you could probably talk more on this one too, but there was the Kendrick fire recently, and we've heard it in the news. I don't know how long they've been around, but drones. We've got actually a poster in our office, and I'm trying to remember what the heck it says. Kyle's going to look at it right now and tell Ryan, and Ryan's going to whisper it in my ear. But it's something about if you're flying,
if you fly, we can't.
If you fly, we can't. Yeah, right there. And so it's a picture of a drone. So those have become quite an issue in the news. I mean, I at least one wildfire a year, whether it's on maybe not the Coconino necessarily, but we also cover Prescott. We talk about Tontos. There's a wildfire in the state. I like to talk about it because it just keeps in the forefront of people's heads that it can happen. But it seems like there's a day or so where you hear that, there was a drone. We had to shut down helicopter operations. I believe last year's fire down by Yarnell and Paulden, there was a drone for a short period of time that actually shut down the fire. So this has become a big issue. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that, fire managers, firefighters, incident commanders are having to deal with more frequently now, and it really is starting to impact operations. The Kendrick fire, for example, we did have a helicopter, the park helicopter, coming down from Grand Canyon to help out with that fire. As it was getting on scene, just before it was coming on scene, a drone was spotted over the fire area.
Who spotted that?
It was actually one of the folks running one of our Type 6 engines, one of our smaller Type 6 fire engines. He spotted it, called me on the radio, and basically worked through the channels to let the pilot know, dispatch, making sure that everybody was in the loop, that a drone had been spotted, and then that, it was up to the pilot whether he decided to continue or not. Or actually, excuse me, it was the... So they
didn't continue, did they?
No, they actually, they did continue to come, but we actually sent law enforcement officers to try to find the operator of that drone. They weren't unable to find the operator, but it was a little stressful situation because that multi-million-dollar helicopter with 2 people on board was coming out to help with this fire that was currently threatening structures, and not only structures, but there were some pretty key infrastructure sites, communication sites on top of the mountain where the fire was burning to, Saddle Mountain. So really had to make sure that those were safe, and this drone could have really impacted operations had the situation been different. So, but it disappeared, and and that was it. But it was frankly surprising to have a drone on a fire that far out of town and just having to deal with that. So.
Okay. All right. We got to take our first break. Okay. Interagency Aviation Officer Justin Jager in studio. Assistant Fire Management Officer True Brown as well. Stick around. Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Adele.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber. You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
This was me. And Mom and Dad. And my big brother Alex. And Jack. And this was the day that I learned that sandals get their name from sand. That jellyfish aren't made of jelly. That stars don't just come from the sky. That the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget that I was sick. And it changed everything. This was my wish.
I call you and say, I'm with the IRS. You owe back taxes, and if you don't pay today, you're going to jail. You can fix this by sending cash. Did you actually believe me? Too smart to fall for it? Well, last year, Americans paid $100 million to guys like me. 1 in 6 people were scammed. Can you believe it? Well, you shouldn't. I just made that up, too. You are a little gullible.
Welcome back to Countywide. We're talking about drones right now on the show. Interagency Aviation Officer Justin Jager and Assistant Fire Management Officer True Brown in studio with us today. And we were just finishing up with drones, and you said a drone was spotted over the Kendrick fire, which was what, a few weeks ago up on the
a couple weeks ago.
Coconino?
Okay.
So what is that? What effects does that have? Okay, so drone spotted. Here we've got this firefighting helicopter coming in to help out, and now it's up to that. Is it always like that? Is it always up to the crew whether or not they come in or not, or is it just a basic shutdown?
No, at least in this situation, I notified the pilot through the multiple dispatch centers and then really left it up to them because there was not a TFR in place and they were the only ship coming on the scene, and they were still going to be about 15 minutes out. So they decided to keep coming based on their criteria. Mm-hmm. But on large incidents, it is pretty much an automatic shutdown of all aviation resources on the fire. And
if that TFR is in place and we've got a great big wildfire going on, and we know we've got slurry bombers and we've got helicopters and we've got planes and everything going on, we know we don't want drones in there. So when one gets spotted, it's just. And then, just what do you do with that information when you find it? Because you're notified then, right?
I am notified.
Okay.
Of
then
any
what happens
drone
with that?
incursion. So basically, I'm taking that information. We have our channels to make sure we're reporting it up our chain of command, basically. But for the actual fire stuff. We had this one this year. Last year up on the Wildcat in North Kaibab, we had air tankers coming in from St. George, coming in from Prescott. We had helicopters working. A drone was spotted. So everyone had to go back to their respective bases. We were turning air tankers back to Utah, back down to Prescott, setting helicopters down until we could confirm that drone was back out of the area there of the fire.
So I'm thinking this is pretty darn expensive.
Yeah,
I mean, you just said a tanker coming from Utah has got to turn around now and go back.
Yep.
And then during the break, you mentioned that sometimes, there's certain tankers that have this slurry that they just can't go back and land.
Yeah, you can take off with it, but it's too much to land. They can't come in and land with that. So they're just going to go, if we can't reassign them to another fire to go drop that load, they're just going to do it somewhere and then go land So basically, we're losing that capability in that slurry for that particular drop. So,
do you guys know how much it costs for a load of slurry?
It just depends on the aircraft and the contractor on.
All right, give me a round number. Do you have a number?
It's hard. It's hard to give you a round number, but
thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Am I safe to say that it's thousands of dollars to take?
Tens of thousands of dollars,
depending on the aircraft and the contract they're on. Yeah.
Okay. What about what are they? DC 10s? Mm-hmm. Okay. What are those?
You could count on around $10,000.
For a load of slurry in that thing that is now going to be turned around. That is extremely expensive.
Absolutely.
That's taxpayer dollars right there.
Absolutely.
And may just be dumped out in the middle of nowhere because it can't, the plane, well, maybe the DC-10 can land with that in it.
Yeah, that one can. But and again, we're going to try and reassign it. But yeah, I mean, it's still not efficient or effective. And I can't stress enough that just because we don't have a TFR up over the fire, doesn't mean we're not going to have aircraft in there. Sometimes there's a time lag between when we want to get the TFR up and it goes to the FAA and they actually get it up, and we can have aircraft coming in at any time. So if there's smoke in the air, just we ask that people stay away with drones and general aviation.
Well, what if Paul David's just out there camping and I've got my drone with me? And I'm flying around. Oh, check that out. There's smoke over there. I don't know. What's the TFR again?
Temporary flight restriction.
Temporary flight restriction. So I'm out camping and I see the smoke and I want to go over and take a look at it. So I fly my drone on over there.
Yeah. That can be very dangerous.
That's not a good idea.
No, that's a horrible idea.
It's a horrible idea. And then I'm sure there's people out there thinking, oh, these slurry bombers, those helicopters, they're massive.
Yeah.
Just fly right through it and just whip it out of the sky. Just destroy it.
They can do a lot of damage. I mean, a bird can do a lot of damage to a fast-moving aircraft, and so a heavier, bigger drone, can definitely do damage, go through the windshield, and cause a lot of problems.
Do drones have a good flight coverage? Can they fly quite a distance?
It depends on the drone.
Okay.
Mostly what we're seeing for recreational people out there are the quadcopters, and they can go, 400 to 1,000 feet, and then go out a mile or so. So they have a pretty good range, depending on the model and everything.
Okay, well, that's a pretty expensive toy.
Yeah,
but it gets out there. So I suppose it's pretty difficult to tell somebody, okay, when you see a drone, you need to keep your eyes on that drone. Now, this is your new job, is to follow that back to where it came from,
right,
and catch that person.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find the origin because it comes back, they can load it up and be gone, and you don't know where it went. So.
I suppose it's a little faster than a firefighter, fully loaded with gear, trying to run through the forest and keep track of a drone.
Yeah.
All right, so we just need to keep them out of the skies. But you mentioned during the break that they're not being kept out of the sky. This is something that's escalating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in 2015, we had 25 reported incursions of UAS on fires, and then last year it was 50. So it's trending upwards right now. And
now, is this nationwide?
There's more and more, that's nationwide throughout the U.S. Yeah.
Okay.
And as you know, there's just more and more being sold out there every year. So
yeah, they're quite the item. They're quite the item right now. I don't have one myself, but I hear they're pretty impressive. So Interagency Aviation Officer Justin Jager in studio today, Assistant Fire Management Officer True Brown as well. We're talking pretty much about the Coconino National Forest, but forest-wide and across the state about the drones, most definitely. So stick around. We're going to take a quick break. Countywide back in just a couple minutes.
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars. Ed Sheeran. What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber. You're listening to The Weekend.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
I didn't know where my life was going. With Wounded Warrior Project's help, I was able to get my life back in order. I thank Wounded Warrior Project not only for helping me, but also helping the veterans that I know that are dealing with the same struggles that I am. Wounded Warrior Project understood what I was going through. I'm grateful that Wounded Warrior Project helped me reestablish my life. I am living proof.
Hello, I'm Jen Cohen, host of Verde Valley TV's hit TV show, The Verde Valley Experience. On each episode, we feature local organizations, nonprofits, persons of interest, events, activities, and great local musicians. It's informative, it's entertaining, it's fun. It's the Verde Valley Experience.
We meet online, and I tell you, I'm falling in love. I have to see you in person, but I need a loan for the ticket. I really think you're the one. And I really think you're desperate. Sure enough, you sent cash and never see me again. Too smart to fall for this? Last year alone, 12 million Americans lost money this way. Can you believe it? You shouldn't. I made that up, too. Might not be as smart as you thought you were.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left in the program. We were just talking whether or not we could, if we can say, what is it? Is there a fine for flying a drone within a TFR, or not?
Yeah.
Are there laws against flying drones within fire zones?
Absolutely, and again, that comes down to that's FAA airspace, and so that's going to be an FAA penalty basically for that. UAS are considered aircraft by the FAA, so anything that applies to any other aircraft applies to UAS.
Okay. All right, so there would be a fine, but it's not up to you guys, it would be up to the FAA?
Correct.
Okay, okay, all right.
And, you know, the main thing is to, if people are flying them around fires, it's not just, you know, we have to divert aviation resources. I mean, there are lots of people's lives that are at risk, both, you know, the aviators, the pilots themselves, the on-the-ground resources, and the general public too, because it's just further delaying those resources we need to help successfully suppress that fire. And that's really the main point.
How awful would someone feel if they knew their drone caused a slurry bomber to crash with people inside in a fire zone? I mean, holy cow, how awful would you feel if you were responsible for something like that? Let's hit it up real fast. I've hit everybody for this one. Campfires. Can we just walk away and leave them burning while we're out there camping?
Absolutely not.
No.
No, why not?
Any abandoned campfire has the potential to become a devastating wildfire.
We've seen it time and time again, right?
Yep. There's, I mean, hundreds, thousands of examples. So got to be out cold to the touch is what it comes down to. So
what I do is I've got a shovel with me, I got a hard rake when I go camping, and I've got 5 gallons of water, one of those big blue box things full of water, and that's the campfire water for the end of the thing. So I always rake up around the campfire pit, make sure I get all that dead stuff and everybody's pulled tabs from food and stuff from the campsite before. Get all that pulled up first so I got a nice clear area, right? Make sure the rocks are good and solid on there. Should I be building my campfire on a windy day?
No, absolutely not.
We have a lot of those right now. It's spring, so you can pretty much guarantee in the afternoon that switch is going to be flipped and we're going to have 30, 40-mile-an-hour winds. And so I guess morning is okay and evening is okay, but the middle of the afternoon, it's brutal out there sometimes with the wind. And then when I'm done camping, no matter when I'm going to leave the campsite, I got to put that fire out. And I got to douse it with water, stir it with a shovel. You guys are nodding your heads, so
yeah, you got it.
Dead on, dead on.
Right on.
It's like I've done this before. And then the other one that gets me too, and my wife and I see this when we go camping all the time, and I know you guys see it, and I know Brady sent me, Brady and Highland Fire, I believe, sent me both a press release last year. When the forest just first opened up, right off 89A, there's several roads people really like to hit, and it was just a phenomenal amount of garbage left behind. People just came up camping and left their trash. So do we have trash service on the Coconino National Forest that goes up and down the Forest Service roads?
No, we do not. Please, if you're going to be recreating, if you bring it in, bring it out. That includes sleds as well, because there are an inordinate amount of sleds that are left in the forest, particularly after a good snow season like this.
Yeah, there's plenty of chunks of them in the median right now.
Yes, there are.
There's quite a bit of actually trash in the median, I noticed, on I-17 right now. So we've got to get that taken care of. So, okay. So put your campfires out, you pack it in, you pack it out, take it with you. You had enough space to bring it in. You got to have enough space to put it in a bag and take it back with you, and all that good stuff. So, like last year, I know we had Coconino National Forest saw a huge increase in abandoned campfires. and a huge increase in the amount of trash that was left behind. And it almost seems like society is going backwards when it comes to that. Instead of getting better, we're getting worse. And it kind of boggles the mind, but we're trying to get the message out there, right? That's what we're trying to do. All right, Justin Jager, nice to meet you.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming in. We'll have to have you come in again. You guys up for that again?
Yeah.
Brady scared you for nothing. And True Brown, both in Coconino National Forest, thank you so much for watching and listening. I'm Paul David. This is Countywide. We'll talk to you again next time.